A growing number of Democrats and multiple medical groups are calling for RFK Jr. to resign as Health and Human Services Secretary. In the 7 months since he was confirmed, Kennedy has upended the CDC and has taken steps to rewrite vaccine policy.
We're joined now by Carmen Paun, a health reporter at Politico. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
So by raising questions about the CDC, Kennedy says that he's actually trying to pursue what he calls transparency. However, critics say he's jeopardizing public health. What impact could this have on Americans' trust in public health? And is there still trust in public health these days?
That is the big question, whether there is still a lot of trust in public health these days. The health secretary claims there is not so much, and he's pointing to the uptake of COVID vaccines before his change in policy to say that, look, people already don't trust the CDC. Much fewer than 50% of the different groups are taking COVID boosters year after year. And there are experts, as you say, that are worried that he's further muddying the message on vaccines, potentially increasing that lack of trust, confusing people about whether vaccines are safe and effective for them, whether they have access to them still or not. So there's still a lot of debate about whether what he is doing is actually reaching his stated aim to increase trust in public health and the CDC, or whether it's just making things worse.
You know, talking about Kennedy as well, he's already narrowed access to the COVID vaccine. A lot of people talking about that one. And later this month, Kennedy's newly appointed CDC vaccine panel, they're going to meet. And that several members, they've expressed vaccine skepticism. Are we expecting any decisions to happen with this group?
That would be a pivotal meeting. Many people are looking to it to see whether the health secretary will go further in his vaccine policies. We do expect there might be a recommendation regarding hepatitis B vaccine. It's a vaccine that is given now to newborns in their first day of life. The secretary has raised question about whether that is really needed. He has argued that hepatitis B affects only children whose mothers are at risk, whether they, for example, inject drugs or have unsafe sex. And he has argued that mothers should be tested before they give birth, and to only give the vaccine to children whose mothers are considered at high risk of infection, not to everybody. Obviously, the public health consensus so far has been that that shot really benefits all children and it saves them from a potentially devastating disease. So that could be one decision that we could be looking at. There could be a few more that could be controversial, but it's still unclear exactly what the recommendations will be.
It seems like with all these decisions, it gets more and more complicated and confusing for people. Now you have several states, including here where we are in California, writing their own vaccine guidelines. How could this differing guidance from state to state impact public health, in your opinion?
It's expected to further confuse people. Obviously, if people in California will have access to the COVID vaccine or wider access than people in other states that want it, that might increase also frustration among people that feel they need it or they feel like they are protected by the vaccine against severe COVID-19. And let's not forget, some people have argued this, people move around. No one stays in one state. They travel around. There's no borders. So obviously, if someone comes and vaccinated from one state, they could sicken someone in another state. So it's, it will further muddy the waters about vaccine access, about recommendation about who should get it. But it also means that, the problem is not necessarily going to stay in one state if a disease is spreading, or stay out of the states that are still making access to vaccines widely available.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Kennedy's also expected to release a report on autism soon. He's been talking about that a lot. The Wall Street Journal reports it will link autism to Tylenol use while pregnant, but this is actually contrary to current medical guidelines. Can you talk a little bit about what's behind this? Is there actually any merit behind it?
Sure. We haven't had any official confirmation that this is the case, but indeed the Wall Street Journal reported that the studies will link autism to the use of Tylenol. We've seen some people in the MAHA world pointing to this over the past few weeks, so there have been a few breadcrumbs that this may be coming. We've seen about a month ago a study from the Harvard School of Public Health saying that in a review study, they had seen a potential increase between the use of Tylenol in pregnancy and the development of neurodevelopmental disorders as autism. So they were recommending that Tylenol is still prescribed for women who really need it, because also the pain and aches that women get during pregnancies can also harm babies. But they were saying there should be the shortest use, and only when really needed. So we will see what the merits of the study will be, what footnotes they will have, what references they will have. But so far, it does seem to go against the consensus that this causes autism in pregnancy.
Well, we really thank you, Carmen, for being with us this morning and diving into all these different topics. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.